Okay, we're on.
We are on. We are on air. You didn't even let me talk during the hot mic time in between. So that was like a half of a word. Hey, everybody, it's Jess Duel.
Oh, and Scott Scowcroft.
And we're a little bit behind the scenes today with past Bold Business podcast clips. So Scott and I are trying something new. We needed a way to get some content. We know that we want you to have what you have been asking for, which is more live content. And so here's our prototype. Is that good enough, Scott?
I like that a lot. We're just warning everyone that there may be some technical glitches. This is a proof of concept, something that we've been wanting to do this for years and years and years, and we actually did it years and years and years ago. So
we did. Full circle, Scott.
Yeah. This is terrific. Well, why don't I do a little bit of setup, and then you can fill in everything I forget, and then we'll get right down to it.
I love that. I think that sounds great.
So I have, at random, I don't know what they are, and Jess does not know what they are, but at random I have chosen 3 clips from previous Bold Business podcasts. So these will be about 30 seconds to 45 seconds, around, something like that. And Jess is going to listen to them. And then we're going to go right back to her, and she will extemporaneously talk about what that clip meant to her. I don't know if it'll spur any conversation between the two of us or not, but we've got 3 clips chosen. It'll be a surprise to both of us, and we'll kind of go from there. So, anything more that you'd like to add, Jess?
I think that sounds great. We're going to be taken by surprise. We don't know what's going to be happening, and that's part of the fun of what we're going to do here and see what comes out. And who knows, maybe I'll listen to myself and contradict myself. Maybe I'll listen to Scott and contradict Scott. You never know. Or maybe I'll go, yep, I agree, let's move on.
Well, okay, so there's real drama. To me, there's real drama to this. Okay, now I have every confidence in Jess that she will just do perfect. How about that for raising the bar?
Woo! We got this.
You know, I'm not your sidekick for nothing. Okay.
That's right.
So, shall we just go into the first clip?
Let's go.
Okay, here we go.
I think there's 2 questions there that are really important. One, you asked if that was all part of the human condition or whether it was particular to female leaders or et cetera. It's all part of the human condition. Neuroscience can explain. We have 50 to 60,000 thoughts a day, 80 to 85% are negative. Why? Well, because our brain, its intention is to keep the thing it's a brain of alive. And our brains still have that reptilian part called the amygdala. That's our fight, flight, or freeze. We still need that, but we needed that as cave people. Otherwise, we wouldn't have survived through the ages. We had to adapt. As soon as you have an experience of being threatened, and it might not even be happening, it's what I call the distinction between authentic fear and inauthentic fear. Authentic fear is a snowplow coming right at you, or your kids are out playing and you know they just buried themselves in a snowdrift and you see the snowplow coming and you go running out to rescue them. That is authentic fear because a life's in danger, your life's in danger, or somebody else's. Inauthentic fear is when we're afraid something's about to happen that isn't happening right now. The key thing for the brain and the consciousness that's layered on top of that, we need that ability to determine danger. But what we forget is we always have a perception about everything. Is my perception real?
Holy cow. All right. Well, you know, the first thing that comes up for me, Scott, is that there's this thing going on now called decision fatigue, right? I mean, I'm at home. My son's at home. He's in the 4th grade. I only have one child, but I also have a Girl Scout troop, and I have all of these other obligations in addition to being business owner, wife, and mother. And families out there that are in the same boat, individuals out there that are in the same boat, they have these obligations both in the place that they are living as well as their extended place that they participate in. We have to think so much more than we did before. We have to almost try and override the amygdala part of the brain of where fear comes from. And I know that for me, that's showing up for Jen Coken. She explained it beautifully. And she wants us to embrace the ridiculous of ridiculousness, that's a good word, of life. And so I'm thinking about that, but I'm also thinking about just decision fatigue and the fact that we're not going to assess fear very well if we're tired from constantly making decisions all the time and having to double check those decisions, sometimes during the same day, but definitely day after day.
Yeah. So many of your guests have talked about the mind and how we have the option of letting the mind go wherever it wants to wander, or to kind of step out a little bit, take a look, and choose whether or not to become upset about something or not. And I think that was just an example of getting control of your mind. So when you say decision fatigue, I can imagine that if a person just has decision fatigue and they stop and they say, "Oh, look at that. I've got decision fatigue. Isn't that interesting?" That small break would be enough to give enough space to not let the mind control everything else, but to get control over the mind. That's a little.
Yes. Oh, and if you can tell me how to do that, I almost burst out laughing in the middle of your sentence because I'm like, I would love to know to be able to notice. I usually know after the fact when I bit somebody's head off, or I respond to an email in a snarky way, or I get to the point where I start to be a little judgy because I am typically not judgy. So usually if I'm hungry, cold, or tired, that's when those types of things come out, that punchiness, that feisty is I usually use in a positive way, but the opposite of feisty shows up. I'm like, uh-oh, I'm already there. So I think that's what you're talking about noticing. And at the same point in time, I'm like, maybe wouldn't it be great if I could notice it earlier and avoid it altogether?
So in the Western cultures, we're really good at science. So if you break a bone, we want to rely on Western science. Eastern philosophy or Eastern cultures are really good about things like meditation and things of the mind. So I think the Buddhists call it obscurations of the mind when you're so confused, and that's what meditation does. Is kind of balances you. Now you have the present retreat, which we're not going to go in now because we don't have enough time.
That's not what this behind the scenes is about.
But to be able to give yourself a little bit of space, I think is lay person's terms for being able to see the big picture and not have events govern you, but to have you be in charge of your own destiny.
Yes, and to echo that and to be able to shift in process if we need, because it's only from the moment that we become aware of it that we can actually observe it and then decide what to do about it.
Okay.
Because I don't know, maybe I just want to be snarky for that email. And by the way, that's okay.
Okay, I was going to go on to the next one, but just there is ferocity. So you can be angry and out of control, but if your child starts to go in front of a car and you run out and grab him back, okay, you can have ferocity to try and make the point, don't do that. Now, that's what's going on the outside. What's going on the inside is I'm calm, I'm not going to let this get to me, but I'm going to make my point. So what you show to the outside world can be different than what's going on inside. You just don't want what's going on inside to be confused and rattled and all of that.
Yes.
You want to be intentional. All right. So the next one is video 2, and as I was selecting it, well, I'm not even going to set it up. So this can be almost anything. Are you ready for that?
Love it.
Okay.
I'm ready.
Here we go.
We can use the same indicators, but our process is very different when we're starting to work with that external organization. Knowing that this works for the individual, first we have to make a commitment to ourselves. We recognize and accept we have belief boundaries. We have to decide, are they limiting us or not, and what do we want to do about them? Recognizing how are they showing up for us. I almost wonder, we would have to have some mastery of that before we could actually start working with other people, because they're people, they have feelings, and if we don't really know where we stand, how do we be an anchor in whatever we might stir up?
Okay, so I'm going to just jump right in and be like, you know what? I know those of you listening to this aren't going to know what I'm talking about, but those of you watching it just saw that most amazing necklace I have. It makes me want to wear it.
Do you want me to go back to the video for a second?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
No, we don't need to listen to me anymore. And I'm thinking, wow, yeah. And I still agree with all of that. And you know where that came from? That came from my guest on that interview, J.W. Rayhons. And he is a really big believer in team building. It is important to him to recognize and understand what the core mission is of his company, and then what can he do every single step of the way to move forward. And he introduced me to that phrase, belief boundaries.
That's great. My response is, and this is the bane of a technical director, I was checking over here to make sure that we were recording. Everything was fine. And then I came back and I realized I didn't pay attention to one word you said.
That's okay.
So you got off the hook this
time. For the sake of what it is, belief boundaries, it's the limiting beliefs, the things that get in our way. And to your point about the first clip, our ability to observe gives us the opportunity to decide and make decisions. And then, of course, if we have to do that too many times, we have decision fatigue. So these are all kind of connected, I think. In the grand scheme of though, what I'd like to, just say right here that J.W. Rayhons, his inspiration for me saying that when he and I were having that conversation just shows his amazingness to meet me in a conversation where we both want people to have their significant dreams realized.
Yeah.
And I think that when we know we've got some beliefs and the boundaries that we put around those beliefs that at one point in time were for protection, at some point become baggage.
Are you ready for video number 3?
Yes, and this unfortunately this is going to have to be the last one for today, I think. But we could spend a little bit more time, next time too. So just as you're cueing it, I just want to say thanks for tuning in. This is our prototype test drive, and you are here with us right now.
So we're going to see the last one, and then we're going to sign off quickly after that. Is that correct?
Yes, when we're done discussing it.
Yeah. Okay. Now I understand. Here we go.
I have a strength, and I'm bringing that strength with me. There's a lot of things I don't know how to do, but those people that I meet, I could tell them how to reduce their stress. It's almost like the different areas of the brain. We have to actually be able to plan with the prefrontal cortex. We have to be able to have memories. We have to be able to have emotions. When we use all those areas together, it works so synchronistic, like in such a flow. But research has shown is that it takes 30% of a group to make a culture change. If you have 3 out of 10 people on board, that energy is enough to shift everybody in a very short amount of time. Not 3 hours, but in several months. Consistent with that energy, the whole team will change, and they don't even know why they're changing. They're not consciously making decisions.
Okay.
I will tell you what, Michelle Ann is fantastic. Her knowledge and understanding of neuroscience is some of the best that I have encountered. And then saying that, what she was sharing in this clip specifically can be each and every single one of our secret weapons, because we have the ability to shift quickly. And it's when we understand what does or does not allow us to do that and change it so it becomes possible with the snap of our fingers. We can just go. And I like the idea of that, because I will tell you what, going back to this concept of decision fatigue, if I have to hold a boundary too long, I get a little tired. And the longer and the more fatigued I am, whether it's tired, whether it's just too many things happening all at once, whether it's actually a big crazy something or just a whole bunch of little somethings that show up, if I'm the one holding the boundary, it's hard for me to rejuvenate. And so the practice and the meditations that Michelle has given me actually have helped me understand and get quicker about it. So there are some things I still will be drained and it takes me a while to recover, kind of like a long run or a bad night's sleep, right? But then there are other things where, in spite of all of that, or bringing it all along, there's still this access to something within me that allows that energy to show back up. And we all have that energy within us to create an instant shift. And you've all been around somebody when they do it for good or for not so good.
And Jess, if someone wants to find out more about either you or Red Direction or Bold Business Podcast, what do they do?
Yeah, what do they do? Hang on, now I'm at a loss. I remember everybody's names with a little bit of help.
Well, okay.
How about this? Oh, yeah.
I've got the answer.
I'm pretty sure you have the answer. Go.
Go to reddirection.com.
Go to reddirection.com. Listen in, subscribe to that podcast, and, share your thoughts here. What did these clips invoke for you? And what came up for you? Because remember, the whole purpose of the podcast, the whole purpose of the work that we are doing is to be able to support each other in however we're showing up. So your experiences and your tips matter and are necessary for the conversation that we are having right now.
And with that, I'm going to say goodbye. Say goodbye, Jess.
Goodbye, Jess.
And we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.